Okay class, listen up. Today I will teach you the sequence of events on horror franchise patterns. It goes like this. First movie hits. Sequel cashes in. The third one loses the plot. Fourth one's a f***ing joke. By the fifth, it's a Peacock original and nobody's watching. That's the unfortunate cycle of beating a dead horse.
Well, then you won't know what I'm doing wrong, right?
Now, what if I told you there's a horror franchise over 40 years old that has never made a bad movie? Congrats, you read the title of the video. But seriously, every single Evil Dead entry has been praised by the audiences. Every one of them has found a new way to push the limits of human anatomy and actually make some people sick.
Whoa, my bad.
Evil Dead franchise has maintained a standard of quality that I don't think any other horror franchise can match. And right now, in 2026, it might be at the most exciting point in its entire history. Let's be real about where this started. 1979, Sam Raimi. At the time, he wasn't coming from film school prestige or industry connections. He was coming from passion, raw, unfiltered, slightly unhinged in the best way passion. Raimi shot a short proof of concept called Within the Woods, in the same cabin he'd used for the actual film. He showed it to investors, he scraped together a budget, and in 1981, The Evil Dead was released. And what you would see on the screen is one of the most unhinged demonic possession movies ever committed to film. The premise is deceptively simple. 5 college students rent a cabin in the woods. They find a tape recorder and an ancient book, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead. They play the tape, they read from the book, and one by one they get possessed by demonic forces called Deadites. That's it. And yet Raimi turned that simple setup into something genuinely disturbing. Partially because he shot it with such ferocity. The camera never sits still. It sprints through the woods, it crashes through windows, it swoops in and tilts and invades the frame in ways that feel aggressive, almost violent. The gore was extreme for 1981. Stephen King called it the most ferociously original horror film of the year. It was trying to make you physically ill, and it worked. It got banned in multiple countries like Germany, Finland, Australia. Several countries decided their citizens simply could not be trusted with this movie. Critics called it depraved. Audiences lost their minds. And from that beautifully disgusting little seed, something massive grew. Evil Dead 2 arrived 6 years later in 1987 and leaned into comedy horror insanity.
I love you.
This is a film that made Bruce Campbell a cult icon. His physical performance alone, the screaming, the one-liners marked him as having very memorable comedic performances.
Swallow this.
Then 1992, Army of Darkness. One of my favorite films. Takes Ash back to medieval England, gives him a shotgun, and throws a sales pitch to a crowd of peasants.
That's right. Shop smart. Shop S-smart. You got that?
Bruce Campbell's Ash Williams became one of the greatest characters in genre history. But after Army of Darkness, silence. For over 20 years, Evil Dead existed only in reruns, in cult screenings, in the hearts of horror fans who wouldn't shut up about it, me included. Most franchises would die in that silence, but this one returned in a way that changed the game completely. 2013, Fede Alvarez, a director most people have never heard of, an Uruguayan filmmaker who had exactly one short film to his name when Raimi discovered him, walks in and does something almost no one in horror has the guts to do. He strips the comedy out of Evil Dead. No Ash, no one-liners. Alvarez ditched the comedy entirely, going for pure, terrifying horror.
One by one, we will take you.
You are all going to die tonight.
Think about what that risk actually means. The Evil Dead brand is partially built on dark comedy. Evil Dead 2 is beloved largely because of how funny it is. Army of Darkness is practically a parody, and Alvarez looked at all that and said, "Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing." And it worked. Instead, he gives us Mia, a young woman who goes to a cabin to detox from her addiction to heroin. Her friends and brother David are also there for an intervention. She's tried to get clean before, but this time they're not leaving until she fully detoxes, cold turkey. Someone then finds the Necronomicon in the basement, wrapped in barbed wire and garbage bags, almost begging not to be opened. Bro opens it anyway. So then she starts acting possessed, screaming, convulsing, and doing weird shit. The people around her don't believe her at first. They think it's withdrawal. The Deadite possession works as a metaphor for addiction and withdrawal, making the blood-soaked finale feel genuinely cathartic in how far Mia had come to reach it. Mia in the pouring rain, covered in blood, pulling a chainsaw out of a collapsed structure to fight a demon version of herself is one of the great horror climaxes of the 2010s.
I will feast on your soul. Feast on this motherfucker.
It is brutal and it is earned, because you've watched this character get destroyed for 80 minutes. That's not a gimmick, that's actual storytelling inside a splatter film. I know, crazy. The 2013 reboot also leaned entirely into its practical effects, which honestly deserves its own video. This movie gets to the point quickly. The Necronomicon and Deadites are still there, with some visual callbacks, but the film doesn't drown itself in fan service. And don't even get me started on the sound design now. Some people rejected it because it wasn't funny or akin to its predecessors. I think those people missed the point entirely. The film scored a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, the franchise's lowest score, and yet it grossed nearly $100 million on a $17 million budget and has only grown in reputation since. People who wrote it off in 2013 have quietly revised their opinion over the last decade. It's that kind of movie, the kind that gets better the more you sit with it. Don't get me wrong, I love Ash too, but Evil Dead 2013 was proving this mythology could survive without him. It proved the Necronomicon is the real main character, and it set the template for everything that came after. Between 2013 and the next film, something happened that the fandom basically had given up on. Bruce Campbell came back.
Slash prices!
The series Ash vs. Evil Dead ran on Starz from 2015 to 2018, 3 seasons. Campbell is an older, still idiotic Ash working at a value stop.
Yeah, looking good.
Accidentally resummoning the Deadites and assembling a ragtag crew to fight them. Raimi directed the pilot. It was gory, it was funny, it was deeply weird in the way only an Evil Dead property can be.
Let's go!
The show was cancelled after season 3, which remains one of the more frustrating decisions in recent genre television history. Because not only did it get better towards the end, it also left a cliffhanger that left many fans hungry for more. The stage was set and the potential was there. But what it proved, beyond just being enjoyable, is that this mythology has range. It works as a feature film. It works as TV. It works across different tones and formats. The universe doesn't depend on a single character or a single approach. It depends on the Necronomicon, on the Deadites, on that primal fear of something ancient and evil that cannot be reasoned with, and will wear the faces of the people you love while it destroys you. That core, that feeling is transferable. That's the real secret of the franchise, and it was proven once again in... Lee Cronin takes the Necronomicon out of the woods and drops it into a crumbling LA apartment building. A road-weary Beth comes to visit her sister Ellie, who's raising 3 kids alone in a cramped LA apartment. When an earthquake cracks the building's garage, Danny finds an ancient vault, and inside it, the infamous book. Before long, their mother is possessed, and Beth is fighting the most nightmarish version of motherhood imaginable. The genius of this movie is the claustrophobia. There's nowhere to go. They're trapped on one floor, surrounded by neighbors with a possessed mom who knows every inch of that apartment and every fear her children have. The apartment building has a character all its own, just like the original Cabin in the Woods did, and this film hands Alyssa Sutherland a platform to be utterly terrifying as a possessed mother. Alyssa Sutherland. Holy shit. She is effective and disturbing. The way she moves, the things she says to her own children. There's a line that she delivers to her pregnant sister that I will not repeat here, but it made me smile because I'm sick in the head. There's a scene involving a cheese grater that I promise you will not forget. The sound design took it a step further with its twisted, crisp, and intentional way of crawling under your skin. Evil Dead Rise pulled no punches, killing off characters and making Deadites more vile than ever before. It earned an 85% on Rotten Tomatoes over time. It was originally supposed to go straight to HBO Max until the test screenings were so good that Warner Brothers moved it to theaters. The film was switched to a theatrical release in August 2022 because of the positive test screenings. They watched it and went, "This deserves the big screen," further proving that Evil Dead can exist without Ash, without the cabin, without a direct connection to anything that came before, and still feel completely and unmistakably. Let me take a step back here and actually analyze what's happening with this IP, because I think it's genuinely unusual and worth talking about seriously. It's nearly impossible for a horror franchise to maintain critical success across more than a few films. Everything from the Insidious series to the Conjuring universe started strong and eventually sadly became what it is today. Every Evil Dead movie to date has been a success. Even the franchise's worst Rotten Tomatoes score, the 2013 film, clocks in at a respectable 64%. And part of why I think it keeps working is that rather repeating a formula, it reinvents itself with every entry, each with directors who have full creative control and something to prove, using mythology pretty much flexible to hold any story without over-explaining. They could have denied Alvarez from removing the comedy it was built on. They could have refused Cronin's idea of moving the entire setting to an LA apartment building, abandoning the cabin, one of the most iconic locations in horror history. These are bold choices that require someone to say yes. Raimi and producer Rob Tappert keep saying yes. That matters enormously. Raimi's originals were horror comedy campfire chaos. 2013 was pure suffocating dread with a human core. Evil Dead Rise was a claustrophobic family horror in an urban setting. Most franchises only chase what worked the first time until it leaves you questioning what the f you just watched. Evil Dead keeps knocking at your door until it leaves you questioning what the f you just watched. And now we're here, 2026, and Evil Dead is busier than it's ever been. Evil Dead Burn drops July 10th in the US, the sixth film in the franchise directed by Sebastian Vanisek, forgive me if I mispronounced that, who Raimi personally selected after being blown away by his creature feature Infested. Raimi and Rob Tappert are producing with Bruce Campbell and Lee Cronin as executive producers. This time, a grieving widow seeks comfort at her in-laws' remote home, and when someone opens the Necronomicon, a family reunion becomes something far worse. It's the first time a haunted house setting has been used in the franchise. Vanisek has said his goal is to create a visceral, sensory experience that punches the audience in the gut. Get excited. New director, new setting, new protagonist, same ancient evil. And it doesn't stop there. The next one in the franchise, Evil Dead Wrath, is already in development. Written and directed by Francis Galuppi, again forgive me if I mispronounced that. Currently scheduled for April 2028. 2 Evil Dead films in production at the same time. Just like the Necronomicon doesn't care who finds it, it doesn't care where it ends up. It is endlessly patient, and apparently so is this IP. I've covered a lot on this channel. Religious horror, psychological horror, slow burn, extreme cinema, the kind of stuff that stays with you for days and makes you question what you're drawn to and why. And what I keep coming back to with Evil Dead, especially with the modern era, like 2013 and Rise, is that these films are not just about demons and monsters. They're about people who love each other, trapped in situations where that love becomes a liability. The thing possessing your friend uses your care for them against you. The thing wearing your mother's face knows exactly what to say to make you hesitate right before it's too late. Imagine the most primal fear a parent can have, that the thing protecting your children from evil is the evil. If you haven't seen any of these films and are curious after watching this video, go check them out. They're a good time. It's a mythology, ancient, hungry, and adaptable, that keeps finding new filmmakers with something brutal to say. Raimi built the cabin. Alvarez tore it down and rebuilt it in blood. Cronin moved it to your apartment building. And I have a feeling that Vanisek is about to set it on fire. Till the next week. Peace.
Why you do? Coming with the vibes and the flows, and I love that. Gotta resurrect the true sounds of the boom rap. Wanna cut the rapper out, man, bring a shut down. Man, what I say, check it out, man, I'm gonna say it out. Won't keep silence, cause silence kills. Man, I'm suppressing, man, I'm gonna keep it ill. Rapping get like 2 slices of bread. Keep it all funky, I'm a rap